The ocean has always been full of mysteries. More than 80% of it remains unexplored, hiding secrets that no human has ever seen. For centuries, sailors have shared stories about strange lights beneath the waves, mysterious sounds coming from the deep, and entire ships disappearing without leaving a single trace. Most people dismissed these stories as myths, but sometimes legends exist for a reason. On a calm summer night, the research vessel Ocean Explorer drifted silently across the Pacific Ocean. The sea was unusually peaceful, reflecting thousands of stars across its glass-like surface. A gentle breeze carried the scent of salt through the air as the crew continued their routine scientific mission. Everything seemed perfectly normal, and no one could have imagined that their lives were about to change forever. Captain Ethan Brooks stood alone on the deck, staring at the endless horizon. After spending more than 20 years exploring the world's oceans, he believed he had seen almost everything nature had to offer. Storms, giant whales, underwater volcanoes, and dangerous sea creatures had never frightened him. But deep inside, he knew there were still places on Earth where humans simply did not belong. Inside the control room, engineer Liam Carter carefully monitored the ship's navigation systems, while marine biologist Dr. Sarah Collins reviewed data collected earlier that day. Photographer Ava Reed organized her camera equipment, hoping to capture rare marine life before the expedition ended. Navigator Noah Hayes adjusted the course as the ship continued toward its next research location. Suddenly, a sharp electronic beep echoed through the control room. Everyone looked toward the sonar monitor. A strange signal had appeared on the screen. It wasn't another ship. It wasn't a submarine. It wasn't even a natural underwater sound. The signal was perfectly rhythmic, repeating every 10 seconds from the exact same location nearly 6,000 meters below the ocean's surface. Liam frowned as he adjusted the scanner. "I've never seen anything like this," he whispered.
Captain Ethan immediately entered the room and studied the display. The mysterious signal continued to pulse with impossible precision. Whatever was creating it wasn't moving. It had remained in exactly the same place for several minutes. Sarah crossed her arms thoughtfully. Could it be some kind of underwater research station? Captain Ethan slowly shook his head. There are no research stations at that depth. A heavy silence filled the room. Then, without warning, every light inside the ship flickered. The radio suddenly switched on by itself. Instead of normal static, an eerie sound filled the speakers. It wasn't music, and it wasn't human speech. The voice seemed distorted, almost as if it were traveling through miles of water before reaching them. It sounded ancient, haunting, and strangely intelligent. No one moved. The entire crew listened in complete silence. Liam quickly activated the recording system, but the moment he pressed the button, the mysterious voice disappeared. The radio fell silent. Seconds later, every computer screen inside the control room turned black. Then white letters slowly appeared across the main monitor.
The crew stared in complete disbelief. No one had touched the keyboard. No internet connection existed that far out at sea. Whatever had written those words was somehow communicating directly with the ship. Noah nervously laughed. "This has to be some kind of prank, right?" No one answered. Captain Ethan continued staring at the screen before quietly saying, "If someone doesn't want us to go there, then there's probably something worth hiding." The next morning, despite the crew's growing fear, Captain Ethan made his decision. They would investigate. The team prepared their state-of-the-art deep-sea submarine, Neptune 1, built to withstand the crushing pressure of the deep ocean. It represented humanity's best technology for exploring places no one had ever reached before. In an hour, the submarine slowly descended beneath the surface. The sunlight disappeared after only a few hundred meters. At 1,000 meters,
Darkness completely surrounded them. Outside the windows, strange glowing fish drifted silently through the black water like floating stars. Creatures unlike anything seen in ordinary oceans watched the submarine as it continued sinking deeper and deeper. Sarah stared in amazement. "I've studied marine life my entire career," she said softly, "but I've never seen anything like this." Suddenly, every light outside the submarine went dark. Something enormous had passed above them. For several seconds, the massive shadow blocked every external light. No one breathed. Captain Ethan slowly turned the submarine spotlight upward. The beam disappeared into the darkness. Then, two enormous glowing red eyes opened in the distance. They weren't reflections. They were watching them. Before anyone could react, the sonar alarm exploded through the cabin. "Unknown object approaching. Distance 200 meters. Then 150 meters. 100 meters. 50 meters. The crew froze. Without warning, a violent impact slammed into the submarine. The entire vessel shook violently as warning alarms echoed throughout the cabin. Lights flashed red, metal groaned under the immense pressure, and the crew struggled to hold on to their seats. It went completely dark. Silence, slow whisper through the submarine. Stayed away. Known object approaching. 200 meters. 50 meters. Froze. Warning. Impact slammed into the submarine. Their vessel shook violently as warning alarms echoed throughout the cabin. Flashed red, groaned under the immense pressure, who struggled to hold on to their seats. It went completely dark. Silence. Slow whisper. Submarine. Stayed away.
Several terrifying seconds. Complete silence filled the submarine. The lights flickered weakly, casting a dim red glow across the frightened faces of the crew. Warning alarms continued to echo through the cabin as the submarine slowly drifted deeper into the darkness. The person aboard was trying to understand what had just hit them. Captain Ethan quickly regained his composure and activated the backup power system. The control panels came back to life. Immediately checked the hull integrity, trembled as he read the diagnostics. "The hull is damaged," he said, trying to stay calm. "It's not critical yet, but another impact like that, and we won't survive." At the thick glass windows, the ocean had become darker than anyone had imagined. Even the powerful floodlights of Neptune 1 could barely penetrate the endless black water. Tiny, glowing creatures drifted silently past the submarine, creating an eerie illusion of stars floating through space. Sarah continued staring outside, unable to shake the feeling that something was watching them. Every instinct told her they were not alone. Suddenly, Ava gasped. Toward the left observation window, a massive shadow moved slowly through the darkness. Far too large to be a whale, body disappeared into the black water, making it impossible to estimate its true size. Its enormous glowing eyes remained visible for a brief moment before they vanished once again. Followed nervously. Someone else saw that. Everyone nodded. Then kept his voice steady. No matter what it was, focused on the signal. The continued its descent. 1,000 meters, 1,500, 5,000. Outside had reached unimaginable levels. Tons of water pressed against the submarine's titanium shell. Crack would instantly crush them. Something unexpected happened. His signal suddenly became much stronger. The screen began flashing rapidly. To signal anymore. It's almost like hitting us. Ethan carefully adjusted the submarine's course toward the source. Floor finally appeared beneath him. Expected to see rocks and sand. Something impossible. Across the seabed stood the ruins of an enormous ancient city. Stone pillars rose from the ocean floor. Staircases disappeared into the darkness. 6 statues, covered in coral, silently, in the forgotten kingdom for thousands of years. After centuries beneath the sea, remained almost perfectly preserved and could believe what they were seeing.
stared through the window in complete shock. She shouldn't exist. Immediately grabbed her camera and began recording every detail. Become the greatest archaeological discovery in human history. Ethan slowly guided the submarine through the center of the ruined city. Moved between the giant stone buildings. Symbols carved into the walls began glowing with a soft blue light. Spread throughout the city like electricity flowing through ancient veins. If the city had awakened, the monitor inside the submarine suddenly shut off and stopped. The submarine froze in place. Controls responded, desperately pressed every button he could find. Working. Inside the submarine dimmed once again. Symbols outside began moving. Carvings shifted across the stone walls like living energy, gathering into one enormous circular doorway at the center of the city. The stone door began to open. Blue light poured into the darkness. Had touched it. Scenery was visible. Massive entrance opened on its own. Whispered in disbelief.
Inviting us inside. Captain Ethan could respond. The submarine suddenly restarted by itself. It's powered on. Poles began moving without anyone touching them. Submarine slowly advanced toward the glowing entrance. Grabbed the controls and tried to stop it. Respond. Pulled every emergency lever. Happened. Submarine continued moving forward as though an invisible force had taken control. Watched helplessly. Doorway grew larger.
Or anyone could ask another question. A deep rumble echoed across the underwater kingdom. Blue crystal suddenly cracked, and its brilliant light began to flicker. The whole city started to shake as pieces of ancient stone fell from nearby buildings. Ira's expression changed instantly from calm to fear. It's happening. Hell is breaking. We have imprisoned for thousands of years is finally waking up.